It's Wednesday, July 1st, 2020. I'm Tanya Harris, and welcome to TMI Daily, your daily roundup of everything people are talking about online since they aren't allowed to talk about it in person. Yesterday, stupid Barbie, Kayleigh McEnany, reassured reporters that Donald Trump does, in fact, read. Be careful, Kayleigh. You wouldn't want to make his supporters jealous now, would you? This morning, in one of his toilet tweet rants, Trump called on New York not to paint Black Lives Matter on the street in front of his Trump Tower, calling the movement a symbol of hate. I guess he's trying to eliminate any competition for that title. In another tweet, Trump tried to cast a negative light on Joe Biden for using a teleprompter at his press conference yesterday, clearly attempting to shore up his support amongst the important voters who like their president to wing it coalition. Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez has now banned lap dances after being, quote, unaware that they weren't already banned. Just another story without a happy ending. It was announced that the 2020 minor league baseball season has been canceled. Tough break for the players and even worse for Chris D'Elia, who really loves those minors. Alyssa Milano hit back at conservatives claiming a picture of her as Snooki from Jersey Shore was blackface. Trust me, if wearing too much makeup over a spray tan was racist, every Italian on the East Coast would be guilty. California Governor Gavin Newsom is rolling back in-restaurant dining due to the rising cases of COVID-19 in the state. In order to keep safe, the government would much rather diners go in and out. You know, in and out. The restaurant? That joke kills in LA. Quibi has renewed Chrissy Teigen's Chrissy's Court for another season. Congratulations, Chrissy. Now let's hope Quibi's around long enough for any show to get a second season. Fingers crossed. R&B singer August Alsina is claiming that Will Smith gave his blessing to an affair between Alsina and Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. If true, this would be another example of a husband who no longer wanted to get jiggy with it. Walmart has announced a partnership which will turn 160 of the retailer's parking lots into drive-in movie theaters. Like all things Walmart, the movies won't be very good, but customers will be able to see them for cheap. Now, let's send it over to tonight's TMI Daily Cast and Crew Roundtable. Stay safe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TMI Daily. I'm Veronica Aiello, and as always, I'm joined by some of our cast members and writers from TMI Hollywood. Let's say hello to everyone watching at home or listening to our podcast. Let's start with you, Shayna.
Hello, everyone at home or listening to the podcast.
Joe.
All right, everyone, party's over. Everyone back inside. Back inside, everybody.
Elizabeth.
Happy Canada Day, and then also in French, Joyeux Jour du Canada.
Cam?
Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm a both and.
Chris?
Good afternoon, evening, or whatever time it is. I just woke up.
Jess?
Yo, follow me at the Jess Ellis on Twitter. Memes to blow your mind.
Jocelyn?
Hi, everyone. Happy hump day.
And Emma.
Tip me at Emma S. Lieberman on Cash App.
Okay. Has anybody, by the way, sent you money or no?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Just checking.
I keep hoping.
What's Cash App?
Okay, well, let's get started. When Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in 2016, many claimed that it was Trump's ability to leverage voters' dislike of the Clintons as a major reason he won. So far, he and his campaign have not been able to find an effective angle of attack against Joe Biden, which is definitely reflected in Biden's polling ahead of Trump in both national and state polls. Does the fact that Biden is such a moderate candidate the reason he is so hard for Trump to attack in a way that resonates beyond his base? Cameron.
I mean, far be it from me to give the Trump campaign any sort of advice, but I mean, it was made clear last week when Trump couldn't even answer a softball question, what was deemed a softball question, about his second term, because he hasn't even really thought about it. And that's the thing. he was hoping to run a campaign on two major things, mostly being the economy and that, and he's responsible for it. But he can't do that now. And basically, I'm trying to make a couple of points. Anyway, Joe Biden is actually benefiting a lot, I think, from the pandemic, the fact that he doesn't have to leave his house. He'd probably be exhausted by now if this is a traditional campaign, but he doesn't have to. All he has to do is sit back, Zoom once a day, and let Trump just have as many mistakes as he can churn out. So that's how I feel.
Okay, Jess?
Yeah, the Trump campaign, I think, hasn't even started. We haven't seen the onslaught. Like, it's going to be brutal. Talk about Joe Biden being slow, Cameron. I was thinking, wasn't Reagan was older or younger when he took office, and people lost their shit about Reagan coming in, about how old he was. And same thing with John McCain just recently. So, like, yikes. Yeah.
Yeah, Biden would be the oldest president to be inaugurated if he wins. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and reporters are asking him if he's being tested cognitively, and even said, "Well, yeah, I am." It's strange that you have to actually answer that question, and in the affirmative, yes, I've been tested. But then, as he responded, he said, "But look at who I'm running against, though." So any attempt I think Trump makes in the long run to compare himself cognitively to Biden, it's not going to benefit Trump. It's not good for Biden either, but no one's going to win in that.
Well, Biden's probably, like, in the classical sense, smarter than Donald Trump, but Donald Trump's like quick, and he's he's a fighter. So I don't know.
Yeah,
but also too is like Biden is also the kind of guy who's going to actually use a brain trust. Just as Trump said in 2016, I will only have the very best people, and he may have began with the best people he could get. That's certainly not the case now, nor will it be going forward. But Biden's actually going to bring in the best people and listen to them.
Yeah, and Trump has actually been saying, sorry, I had something in my ear. Trump has actually been saying how well he did in the cognitive test that he took 2 years ago. So he's been putting that out there. One new line of attack that Republican allies of Trump and Fox News are testing is that Joe Biden is too low energy and boring to be an effective president. This includes claiming that Biden's use of a teleprompter at his press conference yesterday was another example of the low energy campaign Biden is running. Could painting Joe Biden as a potentially boring president get any traction with voters? Or do you think that more Americans would like the White House to be a little less exciting after the 4 years of Trump? Joe.
All right, first of all presidents use a teleprompter. So I don't know why that's a problem with that. And boring is not you can be boring and still lead the country. I mean, that's not a problem. I mean, we're not. This is the whole thing of that we're trying to elect another reality star. No, yeah. I mean, so what? Trump is exciting. Trump's exciting because he fucks up a lot. Trump does stupid stuff and all that. But I mean, is that what we really want? Because that seems to be what's embarrassing the rest of the us with the rest of the world. Maybe a little boring is good. Maybe we need a little opposite of what we got now. I mean, come on.
Also, real quick, he wasn't reading off a teleprompter. He was reading the reporters' names off the teleprompter. He wasn't reading answers. That's already been debunked.
Well, regardless of what, whatever he was reading, like, we sometimes switch over to Fox News once in a while, and that's what they seem to keep pushing over and over again. Oh, he's too boring. He has no energy at all. Are we just going to sit there and just listen to his boring speeches? So, that's why we asked the question. Shayna, and then I'll go to Elizabeth.
Well, I was going to say the only reason why Trump won't use a teleprompter, he's refused because he doesn't have any of his stuff. Like, he goes completely off the script. Like, so I don't know why that would be a complete bad idea to have somebody's script be in there and then them, if they want a little free thought, yeah, but not completely go off the reservation, because you can tell he doesn't have anything prepared. I mean, when we watched that rally, that speech was like a cocktail party. It was like watching somebody who likes to talk at a cocktail party, telling stories that he honed and crafted and shaped, and then retold the stories, because that's what it felt like. I said that when we were watching it. It felt like somebody's uncle telling stories drunk at a party.
Uncle at the party.
He still feels like that.
Elizabeth?
Yeah. Drunk uncle at a party.
A little more than drunk.
Yeah, I'm with Joe, man. I want a boring president. If this past 4 years has been rough for I think for everybody. I don't want it to just be like, oh, it's only hurt me, or like, well, I think it's been a rough ride for everybody, whether or not you are on his side or not. It's we could do with someone who's like gonna take things a little more sedately, I guess. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a weird attack, but I get it because it is as I think Joe said already, like the whole like let's reelect another reality star type of thing where we're just like it's not a ratings like I don't know how people haven't caught on that like this isn't about a ratings or popularity thing. This is like people's lives are at stake, people's livelihoods.
This isn't The Bachelor.
This is not The Bachelor.
Yeah, this is not those.
And if we, everybody continues to treat it as such, we're gonna be even worse off than we are right now.
I want to read a comment from online. Danny says, "I'd rather have a boring presidency than an ignorant presidency." So
agreed.
Emma, and then I'll go to you, Jess. Go ahead, Emma.
So it kind of sounds like we're discussing two separate things right now. We're discussing, is it a good campaign strategy? And we're discussing, do we want it? I think we all want it. Like, isn't it a curse to say, may you live in interesting times? Like, boring times are great. Boring times are peaceful. Go boring times. It's awesome. But is it a good campaign strategy? I haven't seen the Trump or the Trump campaign's numbers. I assume that they've focus tested that, although I don't know. But being exciting is one of the things that worked for Trump before. So is it still going to work? I haven't seen the numbers on that. I don't know for sure. I would say it wouldn't work for me, but also I was already not exactly going to vote for Trump. But like, it is something that has worked in the past.
Okay, Jess?
Just real quick, Trump's usually on prompter, and you can tell because he loses his place when he tries to go off prompter, just like the one we looked at weekend before last, because he gets lost. He can't multitask. So you could tell he's definitely on prompter. But as far as the boring presidency, I think people, like, unless we can come up with, like, Hollywood can come back and start producing really good shows, this is going to be the entertainment. That is what got Donald Trump elected. People love the train wreck. They can't look away. I think this is the new normal. Like, the crazier the campaign, the more interested people are going to be. It is entertainment now, like it or not.
Okay, anybody else?
What a bummer.
Well, and also, for students of civics, I mean, never have we lived in a presidency where so many Americans knew the names of deputy AGs or various officials throughout the cabinet. Not only that, but multiple people who held those positions. So, from a civic standpoint,
I know what they did,
well educated.
but they knew the names.
No, but that's very true, though. I agree. It's funny because when we get up in the morning, it seems like that's like the first conversation that Peter and I always have. Did you hear this? Have you heard what Trump did? I mean, it is. It's like we're living, like Jess said, it is. I mean, it's some form of entertainment. And unfortunately, it shouldn't be the best entertainment we should have. That's what we have now.
But also, as Jess said, we really have yet to see the supposed Death Star. As long as Brad Pascal is still the Trump's campaign manager, whatever that's going to be, their huge data collection. Which
they ain't going to blow the wad this early.
But we've seen how that can fail them with just teenagers fucking with them. But more important than that, Biden's message is not going to change. It hasn't changed up till now, and it's not going to change. It's just throwing back everything Trump has done, and letting the Lincoln Project really do the dirty stuff. Biden doesn't have to get dirty because he's got people getting dirty for him.
Jocelyn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be effective, but from my viewpoint, I just feel that it just comes off as such like a weak strategy. It's like, oh, he's boring. Like, it just doesn't, I don't know. It's like, it just looks weak. It makes Trump seem even weaker than he already seems, which is, if that's possible.
Yeah. Shayna?
Well, it's not like Trump is the epicenter of exciting anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, really, he's the train wreck. Yes, everybody loves Jerry Springer when they're home sick from work, but only a diet of Jerry Springer has not voted well for us. And I think most people see that as well. So there's that.
Our show seems to be preoccupied with him.
A lot of Americans like boring. The Camry's the #1 selling car in the country, and that's boring as fuck.
As far as it actually working, at this point, anybody who is still willing to pull the lever for Trump, especially especially his base who are so pro-military, pro-troops, pro-veteran, and what we were finding out over the past weekend, which I haven't been on yet this week, I'm sure you guys have really discussed it, but if anybody is still really hardcore Trump-based, it doesn't matter what he says about Biden, whether he calls him sleepy or corrupt or low energy or low IQ. That's hilarious. It just doesn't matter. Really, if you want to shake it up, and I suggest this to Trump on Twitter, say nice things, you know? Let's throw out this whole Michigan political process. Just say nice things. Give him a cool nickname. Diamond Joe Biden works.
Did he respond to you?
Not yet, but I'm probably on a list.
Okay.
The one thing that pollsters are cautioning Biden supporters about is the wide enthusiasm gap between both candidates. A mid-June CNN poll found that 70% of Trump supporters are excited to vote for him, based on his record and what they believe he will do with another 4 years, while only 37% of Biden supporters are voting for him based on enthusiasm for his candidacy. Is this a problem for Biden, or is enthusiasm an overestimated calculation? Joe.
No, it's not. It's not. Enthusiasm for Biden is one thing, but it's more, let's have enthusiasm for not having Trump in the White House. If they ask that, I'm pretty sure that they'll get a lot more responses. I mean, let's face it. We've all talked about it many times here that it's not our ideal Democratic candidate. It really isn't. But most people are here saying, hey, you know what? Anybody but Trump. And that's what I think a lot of it is. I think if they ask that question, you'd see a lot more enthusiasm.
And let me just add, Joe, because of what you just said, based on that exact poll that I was talking about, 60% of Biden supporters are very enthusiastic about voting Trump out.
There you go. See, I like 60. 60 is a good number.
That's a great number. Cam?
As much as we love to say and bring up about what, could this happen, could this not, and referring back to 2016, thinking that Trump can never get elected, and it's been, I mean, not too. It's realistic that a lot of people stayed home because the polls are so far ahead for Hillary. It doesn't matter this time, I don't think, whether Biden's 15 points ahead or 5 points ahead or 0.5. People are still going to vote because they're not going to let that happen again, I don't think. And yeah, yeah. People are excited to vote now. They're going to be excited to vote 4 months from now.
Well, let's hope so. Chris.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you say only 25% of Trump's supporters are excited to vote for him? Is that what you said?
Let me go back really quick. I believe it was 70%.
70%. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. But I don't know. I mean, enthusiasm is one thing. It depends on the way that you put that, because a lot of it is just like if you look about what's going on in the news and you see what's going on in the world right now, like people are just scared. So I don't know if enthusiasm is really what's motivating people to go to the polls, because on one side you got people scared that Trump might be president again, and then you got the other side of people who are Trump supporters that are afraid that their rights and their liberties and everything, their whole way of life is about to be destroyed by the left side. So enthusiasm is just a curious word to use when truly it's fear. But I guess that's a form of enthusiasm if you want to break it down.
Yeah, before I go to you, Shayna, there's a really good point that Danny's making online. He says the enthusiasm will come when Biden announces his VP pick. She will be the one that will bring life into his candidacy. And I agree with that. Yeah, go ahead, Shayna.
That's what I was going to say, what Danny just brought up. I was just going to bring the fact that he is, one, picking a woman and specifically looking at women of color as his running mate, and said that from jump. I think that will definitely give a factor to a lot of people because, I mean, it's not, no one is unaware of his age, that he is, even him. That's one of the good things about him, is that even he is not unaware of who he is. He's like, I'm an old white dude. Okay. But he does have the working class vibe from him coming up and doing that. So there is a lot of similarities between him and Trump in terms of as a candidate, which is why we have an opportunity to get some of those people that voted for Trump last time to vote this other way, because the candidates are very similar in terms of what they represent for people. But his running mate, I think, will be a huge factor for the younger people and for other people who are on the fence about him. Because like I said last week, the Lincoln Project, those Republicans are already on board. I mean, they're sending out advertising right now that's pro-Biden. So the people who were never Trump, they've already gone pro-Biden. So.
Okay, Joe?
I think just to add to what Shana said, I read today that like 4 or 5 people that formerly worked in the Bush White House have endorsed Biden too today. So it's a weird kind of, I don't know. It's going to be a weird election.
Okay. I have one question that I want to kind of bring up with you guys. Since Trump has been bringing all these great ratings to news shows and late night shows, do you think news shows and late night hosts are a little nervous that if he loses, they're not going to be getting the ratings that they've been getting? Any thoughts on that, Joe?
No, they just have to hire their writer staff back because the jokes won't write themselves anymore. And I'd like to say, if any of you are looking, I will be glad to give you a packet with my resume. If Biden wins, I'm looking forward to writing. Like Jimmy Kimmel, you're right around the corner. I could walk to the writer's room. So give me a call, okay?
I am also available.
Jess.
Yeah, I was gonna say they'll be forced to start writing real jokes. Like, God. But I think they'll basically, if they don't resort to writing real jokes or actually being true to their craft and make jokes about the current administration, they'll do what Sean Hannity did during the entire Obama administration and just stay bent and try to dig up crap on him and never get over it.
Yeah, and I think this would also hurt the TMI minute jokes because it would kill at least 4 jokes every day because they're all, Trump based. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was gonna say if he's voted out and everything, they'll still cover the hell out of him because they'll keep doing shit after the fact, and he'll constantly shit on Biden once he's out of office and constantly talk about what he would have done differently for like even down to like Biden ate a turkey sandwich. He's like, I would have had ham. Like, that kind of level of petty ridiculousness I could see Trump doing forever and always, or starting his own TV network. That's a lot of people have.
That's the rumor on the street that he's going to start Trump News Network after this.
Yeah,
that was really his plan. He never figured
Allegedly.
on winning the first time, allegedly, and he kind of got both, didn't he? With Fox News and the presidency. But yeah, he's not going anywhere. So should Biden win, one, Trump's not going anywhere. He still has his huge Twitter following, and also there's still going to be a lot of stuff going on politically and in the courts. The Southern District of New York is not done at all. In fact, if he is leaving office on January 20th, the lot's going to be moving forward. We're going to find out this week, hopefully, from the Supreme Court, if his finances are actually going to be released. We won't get to see them anytime soon, but at least they'll be released to various committees in Congress and to the Southern District of New York. So there's still a lot to happen. And also, as far as election, we need to stop thinking about election day. It's going to be more of election week, unless it's just a huge Biden blowout because of all the mail-in ballots we'll have to have and assurances and recounts probably and arguments. We need to realize that we're not going to have results on the evening of November 3rd. So
I was just going to say that I heard about that it might take up to a week after Election Day to hear the results.
Yeah. And if Biden's in the lead before it's official, then Trump will be on Twitter screaming that it's rigged.
Oh, yeah.
Or if Trump is ahead and then Biden comes back, they'll say, oh, they got in there and falsified things.
And if Trump wins, they'll be saying it was Russia. I mean, come on, it's going to be a shit show either way.
Trump News Network.
Russia, China, Iran.
Hosted by Jess Ellis.
Sorry, Joe, can you say that again?
Other opinions on your network, and I think that's the kind of opinion you'd like.
You confuse me for a conservative.
No, I'm saying because I'm talking about other opinions. That's what I'm saying. You're the other opinion, but they're not going to let a left side opinion on, so they'll probably let you. So I'd like to pitch that.
Until they ask me about any social issue, and then they would kick me off.
Co-creators, you'll get an EP as well. I mean, the checks will roll in, Jess.
Oh, all right.
Do you want to ask something or no? Was your hand up, Shayna?
No.
Okay, I thought I saw your hand up. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's move on to today's Just One Question. I'm going to pick some of the topics from the top of the show and ask you one question about that topic. I think we need a theme song for this section. But anyways, okay. So today, California Governor Gavin Newsom announced a rollback of in-house dining, bars, and other family entertainment centers like bowling alleys, movie theaters, and arcades. My question is the new spike in cases in California and around the country the state government's fault for opening too quickly, or is it the citizens' fault for not using common sense in regards to the reopening? Jocelyn.
Well, it seems like it's the government's fault for overestimating their citizens' ability to, think of anyone besides themselves and actually use their brains when it comes to, stopping the spread of the virus, really.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a mixture of both. I mean, once they said things are open, no one took like cautious steps to move forward. Everybody went out to the bars. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people went out to the bars. A lot of people were already holding these big group, get-togethers with people not wearing masks and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of both. But I mean, at the same token, what did they expect? Honestly, once they said things are going to be open, I mean, you know how human beings are. So, it's the blame is on both. You can't really look at one person because it's just not fair, because the government tries. I mean, in the grand scheme, okay, I don't truly believe this, but in the grand scheme, if they're in the perfect world, the government has our best interests in mind. But so that's what they were trying to do by opening things back up. But of course, you got individuals out there who don't really care about anything except for their own happiness, which is a good percentage of the population. So, if you say, hey, only 5 people can come in at once, well, there's going to be a 6th person that's going to try to come in, and they're going to go crazy if you tell them that they have to wait outside for an extra 30 seconds.
When I used to teach my kids, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And I think, and I agree with you, it's, it's both. I mean, there's both, parties are to blame, and people just, they can't be trusted to do the right thing. Shayna.
Yeah, I have to say, I agree with you too, Chris. It is both. I think that, but I also think that we also have the added pressure that people put on the government in terms of suing them for the ability to have their businesses back, which I don't know what the right answer is, but I think that was part of why we reopened some things that maybe shouldn't have in certain areas, and they did things because they were like, one, trying to get people off unemployment and trying to keep people from suing the government. I think both of those things. And there is no happy marriage because we're in the middle of a pandemic. And we have people that are existing that think that the whole thing is made up, that all of the governments of the world have bonded together to create this fantasy of a pandemic, to just tank and destroy their own economies, kill their own people, to make shit up, to see how subservient we are to our governments individually. I'm sorry, our government alone can't get their shit together to come up with toilet paper for people. Are you thinking we're coming up with a genius plan? Like, this is fun fucking Dr. Evil shit, if that's the plan, Veronica. And I'm sorry, Donald Trump, as though he is a bad guy, he is not that creative or crafty to come up with a plan, that to be a part of the plan that's that great.
Elizabeth?
But the people behind the scenes are. No, I won't go on too much further because I agree that I think it's a combo of both. I think we tried to reopen too soon, but people also don't want to cooperate. Not even like, I know the mask is like a mandate thing, but it's also like a common courtesy thing now, and people don't want to, do that for their fellow person in a lot of cases. So we've seen video after video of people throwing absolute fits to do something that's a very minor inconvenience, and that's what boggles my mind. It's not a big ask, and the people's absolute refusal to do that is, I think, so it's just so telling of the sort of major selfishness a lot of this country has. It's very frustrating to
just
watch.
to add to your point real quick before I go to you, Joe, if they had come out and said, you have to wear a mask to protect yourself, this would be a whole different story. But because people said,
Totally.
If you wear a mask, you're protecting others, again, it goes to, what we were talking about yesterday, just the selfishness. That's what it all comes down to.
And they're struggling to get men to wear masks because there are too many dudes who are like, oh, a mask is weakness. It's a real thing, and it's ridiculous that people see it as such a sign of weakness. And it's not, it's endangering them, and they're endangering, the people around them. But it's such a weird, like, just I don't get it. Like, but I get it because it is like, if you're a big, strong person, then nothing can stop you.
Right.
Believe me, shit can stop you out of the blue.
Joe, and then I'll go to you, Jess.
Yeah, these guys haven't seen luchadors. Those guys are really manly, and they're all wearing a mask. So most doctors that I know, too, there are surgeons that'll do 12, 14 hours to work in a mask to save someone's life. Those are real manly people, too. Mm-hmm. Listen, the big thing, it's both. First of all, it's both. It's the government that was like, man, this is going to really, really cost us if we got to keep people inside. And it's the people going, man, we want to go outside and be stupid. And it's both of those things. And, it's frustrating. It's annoying, but guess what? We all got to go back inside now, guys. It's I think, and also it could be the Illuminati. We'll know if Shayna's here next week. If it is.
If she suddenly disappears, we'll know. Jess, and then I'll go to Emma, and then I'll go to Cam. Go ahead, Jess.
I think what happened was the lockdown was so severe, and people were pushed so hard that when the protests and the riots finally came, it was like, a balloon bursting. And, right before the protests and the riots, the Fed gave somebody, I think it was Stewart yesterday, was saying like, oh, the Fed should be leading the way on how to open up and do all these things. Well, they did. And they had those guidelines where it was like two weeks of, cases going a downturn, and then 2 more weeks of this and 2. So it was like a 6-week plan. But then all of a sudden, tons of states just said, well, we're open. Like nobody followed the federal guidance. And pretty much the signal sent by the protesters and the media's reaction to it was, it's okay. It's okay to be outside, and it's okay to group up with people. No big deal. We're all back open. Because I don't know about you guys, but it really seemed like the next week, everything just opened up. I don't know.
Yeah. And you know what? I just want really quick. So it was reported that not one state was in compliance.
That's what I'm. It wasn't red or blue states. Like everybody just said, "Fuck it, we're open."
And they were not following the CDC 14-point guidelines as well. So that was
right. And just to cap on my point, I think if the lockdowns weren't as harsh and we just like protected at-risk people a little better, and then told people from the beginning, look, you should wear a mask. Like now, you don't have to lock down, but if you go out, do the glove thing, wear the mask, we might have been a lot more receptive to it had it not been so draconian to begin with.
Yeah.
Emma? Ours wasn't even that harsh, Jess. I mean, there are people in Europe since lockdown, they had an hour of time outside a day. That's it. Yeah, so our lockdown was not even anywhere near being harsh. You were allowed to leave your home whenever you wanted. You were allowed to walk your dog whenever your dog needed. I mean, my friends in Europe, they were literally had an hour. And if you walked or went anywhere outside of the segment where your neighborhood, where you should have been grocery shopping, you were arrested and you went to jail. And that stuff is still happening in some of those places. So, and on top of being fined. So as much as I agree with you, and that,
you're right, I'm wrong.
Exactly that's why what happened. I disagree that the lockdown was harsh for us in America, because other countries had it much worse than we did.
You know what? That's a good point, and that's what I was just going to say. It was definitely it was harsh. It was hard for us Americans, because in other countries, at least I can speak for Mexico, for example, they did what they had to do, and they, you didn't hear people complaining about it. They weren't even allowed to go outside, I mean, they were like, they had time limits. And these are things that I heard from my own mother who lives there, and from my friends who are in politics there. But for Americans, like Jess said, it was harsh. It's hard because, again, people want to be here, they want to be able to do whatever they want to do. And they don't like to be told no.
that's kind of messed up to say
is,
that just because it's harder for somebody else doesn't mean it's not harder for other people. You can't draw equivalencies
No, what
like
I
that.
said was it was harsher in other countries. So to say that we had it hard, yes, it was hard, but it was harsher in other places. So it could have been a lot worse for us.
Oh, okay. Well,
what
thanks for
my
that.
point was, is that it could have been much harsher where we weren't allowed outside at all, or you only were given a half an hour outside, or you only had one, you could only go to one grocery store, which is what happened in other places, which are fully open now and allowed to move around their country. So there's also that side of the coin as well.
Okay, Emma, I know you've been waiting to say something. Final comment, and then I'm going to move on. Go ahead, Emma.
Thank you. So two things now. Just because our lockdown wasn't harsh doesn't mean that it wasn't harsh on our psyche. Like, regardless of whether or not you got arrested for going outside your 2-block radius, like, that's shit still fucks with you if you are told that you have to stay home. Like, it's rough regardless of whether or not the government has made it extra rough. As far as like whose fault it is that nobody took it super seriously and now we all have to go back into lockdown, it's a little bit both, but like, it's not the government's job to babysit us. It's their job to support us. It's their job to guide us. But like, Karens should have been fucking wearing their masks. Maybe the government could have done some studies first on like how many anti-maskers there are and like made more informed decisions based off of that. But like, people should have worn their fucking masks, and now we're back here.
Okay. Cam, I want to move on.
Well, I have a completely different opinion because we keep confusing the word stop with slow. We're never going to stop this. The whole point was to slow it down to our world medical system. We're talking about a virus with an R naught of 2, in which 85% of the people who have it have no symptoms. Everybody's going to get it. Everybody's meant to get it. Our world is overpopulated, and all of us, myself included, may claim to care about the environment, but we don't want to do shit to alter the lifestyles to which we've grown accustomed. So it's either this, well, even with this, still in 30 years, a third of the world's population will be refugees because of the climate crisis. Shit like this will continue to happen. Doesn't matter what we try and do to stop it. To paraphrase Jurassic Park, we spent so much time trying to think if we could stop it. We didn't take the time to think if we should stop. I'm never seeing it up.
Okay.
Angry.
In an interview, R&B artist August Alsina claimed that he had an affair with Jada Pinkett Smith with the blessing of her husband, Will Smith. Although Jada denies that this happened, she and Will do say that their marriage has, quote, transcended romantic love into a life partnership. So the question is, why does it seem like few celebrity couples have traditional marriages and instead have life partnerships, open marriages, consciously uncoupling? Why can't they be normal like everyone else? Chris.
Well, obviously the Smiths have read Plato's Symposium, and especially they've embraced Aristophanes' idea of the common love and the higher love. We should
I didn't
all
know your
applaud
name
them
was
for
Chris.
that. They took Humanities 101.
Okay. Chris.
The true Chris here. Here's the thing. I think, I don't know. This is my personal view on it, but like, as a celebrity, especially if you're famous, like, okay, if you're the caliber of, let's say, a Jada Pinkett, Will Smith, like, monogamy is kind of becomes a different beast when you kind of belong to the world at that point. Theoretically, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're famous, people love you. You have to spread your love. And this sounds really bad, but it's not how I mean it. I don't mean it in like a filthy way. I promise. I'm not trying to be like dirty, but like,
this isn't a Harvey Weinstein story, is it?
I know. It's just. The whole thing is it's a little bit more complicated when you are someone of fame and you're both somebody of fame and of note. You're in a different world, you're in a different playing field, you're in a different tax bracket. Like, these are things that need to be talked about. Not saying that it can't be done, obviously, you know what I mean? I mean, I think really for the most part is like, it's not really just celebrities. It's just that like nobody gives a fuck if it's just like some CEO of a company that you probably never heard of. Like, Jeff Bezos is famous, but like, how many other billionaires out there do you know that probably have an open marriage? do you give a fuck about them? No. You know what I'm saying? So like, this is probably a thing just like being rich, essentially. You're just a rich person, and when you have this kind of money and there's a different world that opens up, and so, you know, monogamy becomes more probably of a challenge on both sides, men and women, than it does for you know, me, if you're talking, you know what I'm saying?
Joe?
First off, creatives are weird. We all know this. I mean, we're all part of that. There's a little bit something wrong with us. Now, when you have big stars, and I won't even say this because this happens with little stars too, but you know, to kind of expand on Chris's point, you know, Will Smith, he's going to go off and do a movie. He's going to be 8-10 weeks out on set or whatnot like that. You know, a lot of times he's in a place where he's not going to be able to go home. He's not there. They can't necessarily bring the family with him. He can if he wants, you know. And then, like he said, you're a person of the world, so don't think that both of these sides aren't getting offers all the time too. So it's really weird. It's a really weird, strange stress on a relationship. You constantly have people that are wanting you, and I think that's one of the biggest things when you see celebrities divorce. It's because one of them has dropped down a status of fame and the other one hasn't, and so like one is like getting all of this praise and stuff like that, and the other one isn't. That's usually what ends up getting people kind of messed up. So it's a weird thing. Like I said, creatives are weird, and then you're put into a world where so many people want you and want to be either next to you or want to be in bed with you or stuff like that. It's a really, really hard road to kind of, you know, maneuver, and you got to do what you got to do if you want to stay together. And when they say they transcended love into a partnership, that's probably part of what they mean. You know, hey, I'm going to be gone on set for 8 weeks, but I'm going to be back and everything's going to be cool, right? Everything's going to be cool. Yeah.
That's a very good observation, Joe, that you just made when they're, you know, on two different levels. You know, that's usually when you see this happen, you know, the most. That's very interesting. Emma?
I don't know what normal is. I think that they're like people are in outside the normal relationships all the time. I am. Statistically, I'm not the only one on this panel. And the fact that we know about it more in celebrities is because they're celebrities and you know all of their shit. But don't make that face, Chris. Like, you know, we know a whole lot more about them than
that wasn't for you. That wasn't for you. That wasn't for you. I promise. That was not for you. That was for someone else on the panel. I promise.
But like open relationships, non-monogamous relationships, polygamous relationships, these things are so much more common than anyone thinks that they are. It's why the term swingers is well known. I don't think there's such a thing as normal. We just know about it more in celebrities.
Okay. Elizabeth?
Yeah, no, everybody's made like great points already. And I think it's hard to do, you know, when they say for couples, like, you need to do date nights and things like that. You can't do a traditional date night and just go to a restaurant or go away for a weekend without people, you know, knowing about it or, you know, or the public seeing it and wanting to comment on it. So I think that puts that kind of, a kind of strain on what we consider a normal, you know, quote unquote relationship. But as Emma said, like, we're kind of moving past some of that as a society. I think, you know, a lot of people are still very hung up on like, you are married and you must do this as a couple and you must do this in a relationship. And that's just not, you know, the reality anymore, you know, from changing like gender roles and work and it's like so many things have changed that this sort of notion that like you have to do things basically the old-fashioned way is sort of moot. So if they, you know, say they're not romantic but they're still a partnership, that's probably, you know, fine as long as everybody's happy and healthy and safe. Who gives a shit?
That's right. Yeah. Shayna?
Well, this also feeds into a lot of the rumors, Veronica, that have been circling around this couple for years. That they've had this open marriage, that they've had, you know, that even to go as far as saying that Will and Jada were gay and that they got married as a pose thing so they could, because they were Black at the time and it worked, you know what I mean? Not Black at the time. They were Black. They were who they were at the time. They wanted to get to where they were going. Thank you for all giggling because I appreciate that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because of who they wanted to be and the way Hollywood is still, but the way it was worse then, that maybe they did this so they could be the Will Smith that's now. And You know, because Jada Pinkett was very, I mean, they were the same. And I agree with you, Joe, they were the same. And now he's like, you know, super A-list and she's a little bit more B or C list, and their kids are like, you know, have a list of their own too. So it's like, you know, the Smith machine is also something that has to keep going. You know, the machine.
Jess.
I think these fantastic lifestyles are not a problem for us ugly people. Like you're lucky if you get one girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife. Like managing to get somebody else to fool around with is really tough if you're not all that good looking. And these people, let's face it, are very good looking and they're rich and they're famous. We're doomed. We're lucky if we get like one person. So that's why we hang on to them. Not that we wouldn't want to fool around. It's just like, come on, what are the odds?
Well, just the first is the hardest.
Also too, you got to remember, like, also it's a different story too when you got somebody like when you're a celebrity dating a celebrity, you're a little bit more understanding. Not even if you are a regular, like decent looking or ugly person, you got somebody. A regular person ain't really like, they probably ain't ready to deal with that issue, you know, like because like, listen, I've had relationships in the past where I even just asked. I was like, would you be open? Just the thought, like, would you ever be? And I got destroyed verbally, you know what I mean? Just for even broaching the subject. So like most normal people just can't handle that because they got too much ego for us to be so regular.
Chris, I hope you get famous so that you can spread your love all over the world. Everywhere be getting some of your love in their face.
So with that being said, let's go on to the next question. Walmart announced today that they're going to turn 160 of their store parking lots into drive-in theaters across the country. Garth Brooks performed a virtual concert on Saturday night that was streamed to over 300 drive-in theaters, where according to the numbers, 350,000 people came out to see it. Obviously, due to the virus, the drive-ins are a creative way to offer fans some amount of normalcy. Do you think that if the pandemic continues, car manufacturers are going to see an increase in sales so people have a vehicle to join in with? Joe, why did I think you were going to answer this question? Go ahead, Joe.
If you look at the numbers today, that came out today for the second quarter, the answer is no. Because the problem is people don't have the money for one of those cars. You know, maybe, I don't know, ask if someone is going to bring an Uber to the drive-in because that's the whole problem. I mean, it's great to go out, and I love the drive-in. I went to the drive-in before the pandemic because it's fun. You can bring your own food and stuff like that. It's great. And of course, like me, I can be as loud as I want and yell at the screen, and I'm in my car and it's fine. But you know, drive-ins are fantastic. And if you have a car, go out, but I don't think you're going to see more people being able to buy one. The car manufacturers would love it, but their numbers were dismal today. Dismal.
Emma.
You know, I know a lot of people don't have the money for it. Also, if you've got nowhere to go aside from the drive-in, like it's a rough thing to justify. I would be curious to see the numbers from car rental companies, though. I feel like if you could zip car a car for a night just to go to the drive-in, like that your zip code, yeah, right. Like you got to bring your own sanitizer and stuff just in case, but that's doable.
Dana.
Yeah, I agree with Joe because they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink because they're giving you 0% APR, no payments for 6 months. Like, and a lot of people in my neighborhood, it's really interesting because there's a lot of people that a lot of the crappy cars have disappeared and new fancy cars have come, but I wonder how long they're going to be here. So they all have paper plates. We'll see. We'll see. I'm hopeful.
Elizabeth.
Well, if you do or do not, be sure to take care of your car and start it regularly. Otherwise, your battery will die and you'll have to get it replaced like I did. And you'll discover that apparently mice try to make nests in cars.
Oh, no.
So I saw little mouse prints on my engine before I had to go get my battery replaced. So start your car regularly, take it around for a little spin around the block. You know, don't violate any.
They like it because it's warm.
Yeah.
They get up in there because it's warm. It's terrible.
Take care. If you can't afford a new car, take care of the one you got.
Well, you heard this PSA from Elizabeth here on TMI Daily. Cameron, you want to finish off this topic for us?
Well, as I was saying earlier, so Plato's Symposium is about a group of philosophers who are having a long night of drinking wine and discussing the idea of the origin of love. What is the meaning of love? And I prefer Aristophanes' explanation midway through, where he's saying that there's the common love and the higher love. The common love is essentially just sexual love, that sexual attraction that you can feel with just about anybody, and you're going to feel with many people throughout your life. But the higher love, that's the connection that you'll feel with one or a few people throughout your life. But it's that truly bonding thing, maybe what some might call the soulmate, that one has another half of them out there. It's also the basis for the whole story origin of love in Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Hey, Cameron, it looks like you found your soulmate.
Thank you for that, Cameron. Okay, so on July 1st, 1979, Sony unveiled the first Walkman cassette tape player. As hard as this may be to believe, before the Walkman, there was no portable way for people to carry their music with them. Because of the Walkman, people created mixtapes, which today would be called playlists. And it's easy to argue that without the Walkman, there would never have been the iPod. So with all of that in mind, it is the first day of July. Could all of you give us your top 5 summer songs for a summer playlist so that we can pull out our cassette recorder and make a mixtape so we can listen to it on our Walkman? So any thoughts, your 5 favorite summer playlist songs? Let's start with Jocelyn.
I mean, my summer playlist probably doesn't differ too much from my winter, fall, and spring playlists. But mine would comprise of Saturday Night by Misfits, one of my favorite, probably my favorite Misfits song. And then Corpse Grinder by, I had the band name, but it's like a psychobilly band. I'm trying to The Meteors. Yeah, I've been really on a psychobilly kick lately. So, and it's a fun kind of, I don't know, upbeat thing for summer. At least for me, it's upbeat for me. Don't Call Me Babe by 90s girl group Shampoo has been one that I've been enjoying lately. And then there's a song by Poppy called Play Destroy. And it's kind of like my two sides. It's fun. It's a kind of fun dance song, but it has kind of like a edgy metal sound at the same time. And she's kind of like this maniacal, like crazed little girl that just like wants to set everything on fire. And I like to think that's like my alter ego. And then there's a cover of the song Poison that was originally by Alice Cooper. But this is by Groove Coverage. And I already love the Alice Cooper version, but something about the kind of EDM version is just like, I don't know, really fun, dancey, passionate. I don't know. So those are my fun summer songs.
Chris.
So, first of all, it's summertime. So Summertime by Will Smith's gotta be on there. I mean, what are we talking about here? All right. Secondly, we gotta go with Before I Let Go by Frankie Beverly and Maze. If you've never heard the song, it's perfect. It's a good cookout song. Next, we would have, because this is like summer that I grew up on, you got to put Back That Ass Up by Juvenile, because, I mean, it ain't summertime if you ain't backing it up, okay? And then pretty much anything by Earth, Wind, and Fire, Southern Girl would be good, but anything by, Earth, Wind, and Fire would be great. And I don't know why, but like, I don't think you could necessarily call it a summertime song, but I think Superstition by Stevie Wonder is just like a good cookout song. It's just something fun to dance to.
Okay. Emma.
I Really Like You by Carly Rae Jepsen, or frankly, most of the Carly Rae Jepsen discography. Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars, and most of the Bruno Mars discography. Surfing USA by the Beach Boys, and most of the Beach Boys discography. And then I had a fourth, but I forget what it is right now. And then Summertime from Porgy and Bess.
Okay. Elizabeth.
I'll go with two of my favorite older sort of Motown sound, Under the Boardwalk and Up on the Roof, both by the Drifters. Really, really good, like, it's hot out, but you just want to relax. I just thought of it today. I was looking it up. I really like The Boys Are Back in Town. I'm not even a big baseball fan, but I always think of baseball for some reason. And It's just fun. Let's see. I'm gonna go Girls Just Want to Have Fun. I don't even know if it came out in the summer. It's so upbeat and it's so fun. It's like one of my favorite songs of all time. And then it's a toss-up, but I like my spooky little 60s witch Lana Del Rey, and I'll go Summertime Sadness.
Jess?
Something I always listen to this time of year. It reminds me of being a kid in Los Angeles. It's Los Lobos, and it's their self-titled debut album, 1978, Los Lobos de Los Angeles. And two of my favorite songs on there, Guantanamera and El Cielito Lindo, but it's not Cielito Lindo as you know it. It's their rendition, but it's all acoustic, and it's the best thing to listen to on a summer night.
That's a great album. I agree. Shayna.
I would go with the last Splash by the Breeders. I like Hot Child in the City by Nick Gilder, Cold as Ice, Boys of Summer, and Summer Nights from Grease.
Okay, Cam.
Well, I do agree with Chris that it is still the millennium, but I'm going all 5 Kenny Loggins. So we got Footloose from Footloose, I'm All Right from Caddyshack. Then throw in a little Messina with Long as in Messina with Your Mama Don't Dance, parentheses, and Your Daddy Don't Rock and Roll. And then from Top Gun, as you see behind me, Danger Zone and Play with the Boys. Well, greased up, shirtless volleyball and tight dungarees. That's how I spend my summer days.
Best scene in the movie.
So.
All right, so let's see. Call Me by St. Paul and the Broken Bones. Love those guys. In fact, I listen to both their albums are fantastic. Put Your Money on Me by the Struts. What a great summertime song on that one. Right Place by Dr. John. That is a great one to just kind of strut through and stuff like that. And absolutely, positively, Lovely Day by the late, great Bill Withers. You can just put the top down. If you don't have the top down, just roll the windows down in your car and drive through. That is a fantastic one. And I'm going to also go with She's a Beauty by the Tubes. So I think any of those are fantastic. Put them on your mix.
Okay, anybody that didn't give me any other songs? Yeah, see, for me, I like more of like the relaxing music. I feel like the older that I've gotten, it's more like yacht rock, and yacht rock is so hard to describe. But, when you just say yacht rock, and then I like Hall & Oates.
I just gave you 5 Kenny Loggins songs. I know yacht rock.
Fleetwood Mac.
Veronica,
have you younger people though, Cam? They don't know what yacht rock is. They're like, what is yacht rock? I'm like,
my cherubic good looks belie my old age.
Channel on Sirius XM.
Have you seen Yachtly Crew?
I have not. No, I have not.
Yeah. They are great. You will love them, Veronica. Yachtly Crew is great.
Yeah.
In 2 years from now, when we can go to concerts, go see them.
Yeah.
No,
go see them when you can. You can do YouTube stuff. There's YouTube Yachtly.
I'm gonna YouTube it definitely. Like songs with the word summer in it. Of course, like I love Summertime, by Will Smith. But of course, I have to go by my favorite, summer song, Summertime by my favorite band, the New Kids on the Block. So that's my list. I want to read some from online. Michael Gonzalez is saying Atari's Boys of Summer, Billy Idol, Money Money, Daft Punk, Get Lucky. We also have, Todd, LFO, Summer Girls, Sublime, yes, love Sublime. Summer Love by Justin Timberlake, Despacito, Luis Fonsi, Hot in Here, Nelly. And Peter's 5 summer songs, Summertime by the Fresh Prince, Magic by the Cars, Cruel Summer by Bananarama, Summer Nights from Grease, and Boys of Summer by Don Henley. So,
Veronica?
Yes.
Did you happen to get some of these? Can we send them to you, and we can actually make a list on Spotify that people can go and
that'd be
cool.
That would be awesome. Yes.
So, guys, everyone, email your suggestions. Take the people online, and then we're gonna make a mix of this. And tomorrow you can go on Spotify and listen to it, and that can be your TMI Daily Summer Mix.
Yay! Homework for Peter.
Yeah. So email it to Pete. If Pete don't
want to do it, have him email them to me in the morning, and I'll have the mix up by noon.
Okay, well, you and Pete can figure that out, but I have to tell you, like, Peter has playlists that has like thousands and thousands of songs. He'll spend hours working on playlists. He has so much patience for that. So yeah, talk to Pete about it.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're listening to us right now on Spotify, so I know they got it.
Yeah.
So y'all at home listening, you know, it's going to be real easy for you because you already got Spotify.
I love that. That's a great idea, Joe. Thanks.
Just scroll.
So tonight, before we go, we wanted to acknowledge another special event that happened on this day in 2012. On this date, 8 years ago, TMI Hollywood was officially announced at Second City Hollywood. Since that announcement, we have produced 227 live shows written by 104 writers and featuring 378 cast members and guests. We were hoping to get close to our 250th show this year, but the coronavirus kind of got in the way. We hope we can get back to what we do best as soon as it's safe. So with that being said, that's our show for today. Join us tomorrow at 6 when we talk to a flight attendant who happens to be Chris's sister about the current state of air travel during this time. And also, if you have any questions for her, feel free to DM them to us and I will try my best to ask her those questions. So any questions regarding flying or anything, you know, what about that, send it to us and then I'll make sure that I ask her. So until tomorrow, we'll see you guys back here at 6 p.m. Bye, everyone.
Again, happy Canada Day.